what's up? It's your girl Megan, and it is the most wonderful time of the year. I seriously love Halloween more than I love Christmas. Oh. Now, to celebrate the very first week of October and our book review on Kingdom's Keepers, I decided to dress up as none other than Maleficent, and I've got the awesome hat and the makeup. Twinsies! So this week we're going to be going over Riley Pearson's Kingdom Keepers book 1. This was one of those books that I saw in the teen section that I absolutely had to read. I was so excited. I'm a huge Disney fanatic, as you can tell. I have quite the mixed review on this one, so let's just jump right into it. Maleficent probably shouldn't smile this much. So what is Kingdom Keepers all about? It starts off with a guy named Finn, and Finn has been chosen after auditions and auditions and auditions to be a DHI. A DHI is a Disney hologram Imagineer. It's got a really cool premise. If you are a DHI, pretty much you walk and talk in front of a green screen and they kind of clone you and record you and you become a real life hologram in the park as kind of a greeter, and you tell people which way the rides are. Once you're one of these people, you become a celebrity, so you have to kind of keep your identity close because Disney doesn't want you to know that you're not a real quote-unquote person. With that in mind, really cool premise. You become a DHI and he meets some people and friends, although they don't know much about each other, and then he goes back to his normal life. Very early in the book, in fact, it's like the very first chapter, he falls asleep, and when he falls asleep, he goes into this really cool dream where he goes, you guessed it, into Disney World after dark. Hence the Disney After Dark. At first he doesn't see anything and he meets this guy named Wayne, and Wayne's this older man and he is not a DHI, he's just an old Imagineer that worked with Walt Disney. He wants to know what Finn sees, and Finn says nothing. Well, the next night he comes back and then he can see some Pirates Caribbean, he sees Chippendale, he sees Goofy at one point, and he starts to realize that this is no dream. And in order to make him realize that, Wayne says, I want you to look up into the sky, find the moon, and when you wake up in just a few moments, the moon will be in the exact same place. So fast forward, and he realizes this is not a dream. He actually transports into Disney After Dark. And how he does this is his DHI plus real Finn equals a kind of in between mixture. It's a hologram, so he can see through his skin, and if he thinks he's a hologram, he can walk through walls and all kind of really cool stuff. However, he's still human, so whatever happens to him, like at one point, Blackbeard from Pirates of the Caribbean shows up and lasers him, and he wakes up, he's still got the burn, and he wakes up dirty from all of his adventures. So he's part and part. And he also goes to realize that the villains learned they can harvest their powers and go into the outside of Disney. Not really sure when Maleficent turned Jamaican, but that just kind of happened. So the evil magic that Walt Disney knew existed, because you can't have good magic without bad magic, villains have realized that they can harvest their bad magic and use it to expand their kingdom outside of the walls of Disney, and it's up to Finn and his friends that he makes along the way to stop the villains. Now, in retrospect, this book had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful concept. If it had only been written a little bit better. First, the prose. Really great that they did their research, and they bring Walt Disney into it. They bring really cool elements into Walt's real life. That's where it kind of ends. Even though this is a teen book, and I understand that, so don't yell at me beforehand. So is Hunger Games, so is Twilight. They're all in the same realm of books. However, this series seems to be written for like 9-year-old at one point. There's other ways to say he said other than he said. He screamed, he shouted, he was bursting with emotion. Other than then Finn said, and then Maccabee said, and then Charlene said. We know they said, but how did they say it? Let's also talk about Maleficent, shall we? I have loved Maleficent since I was a little girl. In fact, Sleeping Beauty was one of my favorite Disney movies. Being a lover of Disney, I am well aware that my special powers are fire. That's right, we've all seen it. I emerge into this really pretty black dragon, and I shoot fire down on the prince, and sometimes she does use fireballs against Finn when she is trying to get him to quit solving the Stonecutter's quill. Whenever she comes to talk to the kids in the tents, ice, she becomes, everything around you becomes super, super cold. It's so cold at one point when she's looking through a teepee that they talk about having to close their eyes because the frost and the air is so cold, they think it's gonna freeze their eyes. The last time I checked, you can't have like fire and ice. I feel like that would defeat a villain, quite frankly, if the Wizard of Oz, if she can melt. Surely ice would not be good for Maleficent, so I don't really understand the whole cold factor. I also feel like this book builds up to the Stonecutter's quill. The Stonecutter's quill is what Walt Disney has left along for Finn back in the 1950s because he always knew the bad magic would happen. He always knew that Maleficent and all the other evil villains in book 1 through 5 would come and realize they could harvest their bad magic. So he has left the hints or clues for these 5 chosen children to be able to keep this from happening. And it's called the Stonecutter's Quill Fable, and they have to go and find the pieces and make it stop. Great concept, however, it just falters. It's really not that big of a deal, and I think they could have come up with better ways other than the dolls and it's a small world after all, attacking them in a boat. Like, I feel like it could have been so much more creative. I don't care if this was meant for teens, if it was meant for adults, whatever it was meant for, a little creativity in this would have gone a much longer way. I'm not spoiling the rest of the book because I hope you read it with me. Can't really decide if I want to go pick up book 2 or not. This one disappointed me a little too much for me to consider reading it right away. So while this is going to be going on my shelf, I may end up picking it up a little bit later, just not today. And again, it did make me really, really sad because I was really excited to read about Disney and get away from our normal type books for a little while and really get into something fun and magical. And I was a little sad that I was disappointed in the end. I did get this Maleficent hat, and I did get to dress up for you guys, which is awesome because I, again, love Halloween. So my question for you is, what evil villain would be your front cover? I actually love Ursula on top of Maleficent. The only reason I'll actually keep reading the stories is because I know she's on the cover of one of them because I couldn't wait. I had to see what other characters were out there. Make sure you come back next week. We are going to be going over AJ Molly's A Story of X, so make sure you come back and figure out how I liked that book. Until next time, laters, baby.